Hi guys, welcome back to the Class of Asymptote YouTube channel. My name is Karabo Sithole and I'm a student studying accounting science at the University of Witwatersrand. So in today's video, we are going to be focusing on the absolute extrema of a function, which is basically either the highest point on that function or the lowest point on that function. So the first question says, given that t of x is the function given, determine the absolute minimum annual cost if the factory is said to produce between 1,400 units and 3,500 units. The annual demand is 7,000. The annual demand is 7,000 units, where X is the number of batches produced per year. So it is very important for you guys to take into account that you can only produce between 1,400 units and 3,500 units. So the first thing that we have to do is to set, a restriction where you have 1,400 all the way to 3,500 units. The second step is for you to differentiate the function. So when you differentiate 125x, it will become 125. Because it's 1 times 125, you have a 1 here minus 1 becoming 0. X to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Hence, you are only left with 125,000 plus. So you bring this x to the numerator. You have 24,500 times x to the power of negative 1. You multiply the negative 1 by the 24,500. You have negative 24,500. And then you have, remember, you have an x to the power of minus 2. Minus 1, so you minus another 1, you have x to the power of minus 2. So when you take it to your denominator, it becomes x to the power of 2. Plus, when you differentiate 525,000, you have 0 left. So this is what you have. The next step is to make this whole function equal to 0. So you have 0 is equal to 125,000 minus 24,500 over x squared. Now multiply everything by x squared. So you have 0 times x squared, 0. 125 times x squared, 125x squared, minus 24,500 over x squared times x squared, you have a 1. Take this 24,000 to the other side and divide by 125. You have 196 is equal to x squared. Square root both sides. You have x is equal to 14. And if it was not number of units, it would be x is equal to plus or minus 14. But because you are dealing with units, they can only be positive units, right? So now that you have x, which represents the number of batches produced per year, now you need to know how many units are actually in this batch. So you're told that your demand is 7,000. So the demand of 7,000 divided by the number of batches that you produce, 14, right? So you have 7,000 divided by 14, and you get 500. Right, units. So per batch. So this 500 units that you found, you need to go back to your restriction. It says you need to produce between 1,400 and 3,500. But at the point where the function is equal to 0, you are only producing 500 units. So because these 500 units do not correspond or do not align with your restriction, you cannot include them in the next step, right? So the next step is for you to actually test these values, right? So to test these values and see which number is the smallest, because we are looking for the absolute minimum. Okay. So there is a point where the function is undefined, and that is when you have x as 0. So just show that. So points where the function is undefined. So the points where the function is undefined, if you put 0 here, you will have an undefined function. So x is equal to 0, right? The function is undefined. Okay, and then you'll take your points and you have 1,400 as well as 3,500. So sorry, to know how many batches you have to know how many batches will be made up of these units. You need to take your 7,000 demand, you divide by 1,400, and you have 5 batches. So the 1,400 corresponds to 5 batches. Corresponds to 5 batches, and the 7,000 the 3,500 corresponds to 2 batches. Okay, so what you need to do now is to substitute this number of batches into your total cost function, right? So let us do just that. So we will find T of 5 is equal to 125 times 5 plus 24,500 over 5 plus 525,000. You get 530,523. T of 2 is equal to 125 times 2 plus 24,500 times 2 to the power of minus 1 plus 525,123. Get 537,500. So as you guys can see, this value is the smallest value, so this should be your absolute minimum. However, there's something I just want to check. Okay guys, so I just wanted to check my x value, and I thought I calculated it wrong, but basically the math is mathing, because if you say 700 divided by u for units is equal to 14, you would multiply the u with the 14 and still divide by 14 and still get 500 units per batch. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.